Good morning, Kelowna Unitarians, and welcome to our winter holiday service. As we have spent a few months thinking about this service, wondering about pageants, plays, and dramatic readings, Amanda and I have pondered what best fits for our time together on this, the last Sunday of Advent, the Sunday before the solstice, the Sunday after Hanukkah. How best can we represent the darkest time of the year, the many candle lighting celebrations, and our theme of stillness as we transition from fall to winter and into Christmas and New Year's celebrations? Somewhere in the many discussions we had about this Sunday morning, Amanda brought forth this poem from Wendell Berry. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight. And find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Not only was this piece of poetry a theme that we chose to weave throughout our service, but we chose also to create a service of poetry. So please settle in for our last service, or my last service with you all for 2020. Finding a light in the stillness. Our darkest day, creeping near at last. The cold seeping into our bones. Together we gather, sheltering one another, compelling warmth from the flame of our chalice. Celebrations abound, yet this year, with care, ablaze our windows for Advent, Hanukkah, Yule, Christmas, and more. For nurses, doctors, caregivers, frontline and essential workers. To go into the dark with a light is to know the light. Blackness consumes the outside, lit with streetlights, candles, glimmering bulbs, the blue screens of FaceTime and Zoom. Darkness consumes our inside, lit with smiles from afar, the twinkle of the eyes, while the mask hides the smile. The chalice glowing in your soul. Come, let us gather. Let us worship. Let us find a light in the stillness.
Good morning, everybody. I'm especially excited about this service today because, as Danielle said, we have been laboring over this for months, and I have composed 2 original poems for you today. And the first one is titled Winter Treasures, an Ode to Play and Rest. Our bodies are a cradle, a manger, and a steadfast menorah of woven ligament, muscle, animation. We wade in the snowdrifts of this muted season that cushions whispers of bundled wanderers. Syllables roll off the tongue and find rest in the snow, like children cradled in the gently packed frozen cushion. After the pursuit of pink cheeks and ecstatic delights and shivers across their small frames, stray snow rolls down their backs, and packed snowballs glide in midday icy cheer. Figures of the first snowfall stand as tall as the children. Snow angels take a moment of rest in front yards. We miss the sun. We do. Just like a parent who, as soon as they leave their child in the crib, yearns for their warmth and innocence. But the sun cannot wait to nestle into the mountain's embrace. The night sky understands the give and the take relationship, pats and strokes the sun's cheek, and pulls over a cover of quiet to nurture the sun's weary soul. And we often forget our very own. Hear the quiet in every not often visited corner of your soul. Do you know that you will warm each hollow? Even if you tremble, you will not be overcome by what slow, silent evenings bring. Silence knocks, and you may chuckle at the irony of this metaphor. I have even tried to impose noise on silence. Let us be enchanted with this season that invites delight and requires our diligence in the act of relighting the flicker of the wick each hour. Wendell Berry, as Danielle said, is our refrain, something we come back to in this service time and time again. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. And I'd like to welcome us into our gathering song today, which is called Every Night a Holy Night by Reverend Wendy Luella Perkins.
A sharing of joys and sorrows is a time-honored tradition for Unitarian Universalists around the world. And yet it is celebrated in so many ways. Candles lit in silence, stones dropped into water, witnessing the rippling effects that we bring into community, or names lifted up during the murmur of a quiet tune. In our newsletter, you were invited to bring your own candle to Sunday services this morning, as we are going to ask everyone to light a candle with us this morning. We will be lighting candles silently, using this ritual as a time to hold in silence all the light and the dark within us. To transition into this ritual, I offer these words from Shirley Arena Murray, possibly familiar to some of you as a song. Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply me.
Today, as you either look at the candle in front of you or you look at our chalice and each lit candle, I'll be reading a poem for you to reflect on called Wick, Lead Us into Intimate Spaces. We crave darkness in the presence of a flame because there is nothing greater to woo us or to surrender to. We know this to be a soul fact, something irrefutable. Our pupils carry the flicker of the purest form of warmth. It is sacred, the stillness. Flame, say your goodbyes. You have served our smudged, inky night skies and fulfilled your purpose. Solace. Fill lungs and blow out. Sometimes it takes 2 tries to extinguish, and the smoke, once it does, mingles with the room. Our homes this season are shapeshifters, but the home rests at night, a place to knead out shoulder knots and to cherish the stillness. In the night, in the dark, there is no obligation to be anything to anyone. In your home, notice how you do not, in the darkness, bump, stumble, or fall into any one thing. The curves and flaws of each corner is a dance and a testament that darkness never overcomes intimacy and familiarity. It only strengthens with each dark night. Today, this morning, breathe in sadness, quiet joys, laughter, and respite. The home inside of ourselves is also unlocked in the presence of a flame. Thank you. This morning, I will be leading you through a guided meditation for the winter solstice. And we're just going to take a moment to sink in and ready ourselves. Close your eyes and become aware of your breath. Gently, gradually, encourage your breathing to become deeper. Feeling each new breath fill your chest and belly, then releasing the breath slowly and steadily. You are walking at dusk, alone, in a dark forest. There is no moon, and you go slowly, for the pale stones of your path are barely visible in the glimmering light of the cold stars above. And you may go slowly also because you are tired and worried, and your heart is heavy with old sorrows. You know that in the new year that lies ahead, there will be challenges, new perils, new uncertainties, new griefs to face. And even if you are contented with your own life now, you cannot help knowing that many others are not so fortunate. You keep walking. Gradually, the bleak beauty of the winter woods begins to soothe your heart. The crisp air, spiced with the odors of cedar and fir, refreshes you. The dimness is restful to your tired eyes. The path under your feet is level, easy to follow. There is no sound but your slow footfalls and the faint rustlings as forest creatures settle into their nests. Now, through a gap in the dark trunks of the trees that line your path, you catch a glimpse of light in the distance. It appears very small and weak, and it vanishes with the next bend in the path. But soon it reappears, and it grows ever larger and brighter as you draw near to it. After a few more bends in the path, you see that the light comes from a fire. It is small, in a stone fire pit in the center of a clearing. And as you come closer, you see someone standing beside the fire, someone wrapped in a long dark cloak. You feel a tiny thrill of fear at the idea of meeting a stranger at night in the woods. But you go very quietly now, and you also feel a faint sense of anticipation. Now you come to the edge of the clearing and hesitate. But the cloaked figure turns from the fire to look at you, and you see that their face is twin to your own. They look at you with a grave but kindly expression and beckon you to draw near to the fire. You walk into the clearing and come to stand beside them, warming your cold hands and gazing into the flames. You do not speak, and neither does she. But after a moment, they put out their hand and gently touch your shoulder. You turn to her, and at the sight of this compassion in their face, you begin to weep. They put their strong arms around you and they murmur into your ear, "Go ahead and weep, my dear one. Here and now, it is safe to lay down the burden of forced cheerfulness and let yourself be sad. Let yourself give up the weary struggle to hold your head above the bitter tide of sorrow. Let it wash over you now. Yes, even over your head. Acknowledge all your griefs and hurts of the year past and of many years past. Give in completely to your pain. You have nothing to fear from the darkness, she tells you, for she is our mother. She is the mother of light. Surrender now to the dark. Lay your weary head on my shoulder and let your healing tears flow. Forget all your duties and burdens for just a while, for nothing is required of you in this time and place but to wait and to rest and to grieve. The light cannot be reborn until the darkness is complete. So as she holds you, you mourn and you tell over the litany of your losses and your defeats. You show her the scars and the half-healed wounds, and you tell her all your fears for the future. Take as long as you need for this telling. And when the darkness is complete and you have released all that pain living in your body, place one hand on your heart and the other on your stomach. Allow your heartbeat to exist. Do not try to change anything about your breath or your muscles. You are exactly as you are supposed to be in this moment. Recognize the next in-breath that expands your lungs. Hold it and let it settle inside of you. Then let it rush out of your mouth, strong and freeing. I invite you, whenever is comfortable, to flutter your eyes open and let your gaze rest on your flame in front of you or the chalice. Take a moment of gratitude for the silence and the darkness and the moment of healing you have given yourself today. Now we will take a minute of silence to reflect on this journey that we went on today.
The last month of 2020, it's been rough. It has been a challenging year with the pandemic and the ups and downs of our government in Canada. Not only have we struggled to understand how many of us were going to be able to physically survive this pandemic, but also financially survive. We have struggled with isolation, alienation, conflicts with dear ones, our mental health. We have rubbed our hands raw with worry, with soap and water and alcohol. Masks cause claustrophobia, rashes, and foggy glasses. We have spent time apart listening to tunes through speakers and singing without microphones. We have practiced renewal, deep listening, healing, and stillness, but not in each other's embrace. Renewal through peeling away layers, through ceremony and balance. Deep listening to those on the margins, to our faith, and to our queer siblings. Healing as we remember, as we witness the violent deaths of so many trans people. And by changing the stories we tell ourselves. And now you are being asked to witness stillness. Finding the stillness within ourselves. Holding ourselves in stillness. And finding light. But it seems I am not the only one who has been asking for your stillness this month. Since December 4th, we have been told to sit still. No travel, no extra trips into the community, keeping your bubbles small, staying away so we can stay safe. And yet there is a light in all of this, holding us. Tomorrow's daylight will be longer than today's. We've been experiencing the light of Hanukkah and Christmas. And tonight, perhaps we will find light in Yule. And a vaccine has been declared, delivered, and is being rolled out. Although we still have the winter to get through, we can definitely see a light at the end of this tunnel. But before we shy away from this theme of stillness, I ask you to sit and linger with me a while longer. Come and Find the Quiet Center is a song which introduced our silent candle lighting, asking us to create silence in our crowded life, find room for hope, to clear chaos, to clear clutter, to clear our eyes, to see what really matters. Finding what really matters has been a theme for me this year. I spent 6 months this spring and summer diving deep into my understanding of my call to ministry, striving to clear away all of the pieces of ministry that I have been asked to fulfill, clearing away the chaos that this year began with, and figuring out what fulfills me the most, how I seek hope and frame freedom, and still seeking to make what matters the focus of my tomorrow. As I serve ministry with all of you, as I serve to highlight the spiritual life of all of us, I have witnessed that small groups have shifted meaning for people, have created space for the making of meaning. Struggling to understand who you are and how you want to be in this world is best done in the presence of others. Because while we might be alone in our own homes, staying away 6 feet apart, we are never alone. My highest self needs to be with you, needs to witness you, needs to be witnessed by you. And so does your highest self. The last verse of Murray's song goes as follows. In the spirit, let us travel, open to each other's pain. Let our loves and fears unravel, celebrate the space we've gained. There's a place for deepest dreaming, There's a time for hearts to care. In the spirit's lively scheming, there is always room to spare. As we witness one another's pain, we make space for our fears and our love to unravel, to let us celebrate. Let us celebrate all of the things we have lost and loved, discovered and hated through this past year. As we continue to mine the soul for gems of wisdom, for snippets of learning, let us remember that making room is how we encourage the spirit's scheming. In the spring, I offered a class called What Matters Now. It was a month-long conversation that sought to process the changes of the global pandemic, a time to explore the lessons that might be learned from the pandemic up to that point. We spoke about the present moment, about the earth, the status of our lives and our livelihoods, our connection to our spiritual roots. And we wrote about what we wished for generations to come. This program encouraged in me a new light that I hadn't seen before. While I have regularly facilitated other people's programs, curriculums and lessons collated and created by other ministers and educators, I have routinely edited and sifted through curriculum to suit the needs of participants, but I have never developed a program on my own. Conversations with participants of What Matters Now encouraged me to do this, forming within me questions about different ways to discuss or develop important ideas, and seeking to shift questions into new arenas. And I have begun writing my own program, and I look forward to launching it in a few weeks. Integrating Faith, Who Am I Now? Is a program written for the new year, creating space to integrate the lessons from the year. How have your values shifted? What are the labels you now hold for yourself? And how does this align with your spirituality, our social locations, and our ecosystem? The project has become a light in my stillness, a beacon that I have been able to focus on, and perhaps the scheming of my spirit. Yes, I have been considering in many ways what matters now. Many of you will know I am taking 2 courses right now, and those have been helping me to figure out what matters in my ministry now. And as I settle into this stillness, I have sought to find the light in the many different aspects of my life. And I've not always been successful in these endeavors. In the stillness, I am currently 4.5 weeks behind in one of my classes and 2 weeks behind in the other. And yet I hold on to that light. But as I settle into the stillness of this season and of several days away from Kelowna Unitarians, I hope to make room for more of this work. There is a place for deepest dreaming. There is a time for heart to care. In the spirit's lively scheming, there is always room to spare. Thank you. One final poem for you this morning. Here we have found light, gathered together in sacred community of beloveds. Here we have found stillness, sitting with our minds focused, listening to music, words, and silence. Here we have found communion, intimate exchanges with ourselves, with beloveds, with those we are still coming to know. This is the light we are chasing, a sacred belonging, unconditional in its love, unreserved in its acceptance, unwavering in its presence. The light within, the light among, the light beyond us. Though it is extinguished here, we carry it with us always. Always.